Hello, Awaken Live. We are back with our third marriage series, and we are going to talk a little bit about our family life and our kids' life. We had a question that asked us, what was the specific question? I kind of forget. Ideas of how we raise kids who love Jesus. So, do you have?
Why don't you start that one?
When I start that one, all right. I think we actually pretty early on when the girls were pretty little, we actually did this intentional parenting series with Diane Comer and Phil Comer. If you guys don't know what that is, you guys should definitely look it up. And we did one of their retreats or their conferences as well as their book. And that was very life changing for us in a lot of ways. But I think one of the things that has been a priority for me is making sure that the kids feel heard and that I'm a safe place that they can talk about things, like anything that's on their heart. And I had read a book called Desperate early on by Sally Clarkson that talked about doing 5 minutes at night with your kids. And it's a very small part of the day with the kids, but that their children, as they were grown now, it's the time that they remember the most. So pretty much from when the girls were really little, we've always done 5 minutes each with them. And it's always, not every night, but a lot of nights, it's such a special time. It's a time where I hear their hearts about God. I can hear about their day at school if they're in school. And obviously it's developed as they've grown. Like it's developed more into a conversation than it even did when they were little. But I think that has been something that we've done to just intentionally pour into them and cultivate a relationship with them that then they want to know what we think about the Lord and they ask questions. And Gracie, for instance, is just always asking us questions in that 5 minutes about what we think about this certain thing. And it's where we talk about anything pretty much. But I think that is a huge part of cultivating the relationship with Jesus, is actually cultivating relationship with them first.
Yeah, I think that I'm a little more sensitive to wanting to make sure that they have the tools that they need to live out their faith for their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think an important part of that is the ability to just think critically and ask questions and be okay with doubts and questions and to say I don't know to a lot of questions that they have about, why is there pain in the world? Why is there suffering? Um, why do children die? Why do all these awful things? Why is there cancer? All those questions that even as adults we all struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I am always trying to zone in on. And I think I'm also sensitive to just what I've called paradigms. And that's what often happens with people is they grow up, in a Christian home or some paradigm, and you can take your pick. They grew up Catholic, or they grew up going to a non-denominational Calvary chapel, or they, grew up, Eastern Orthodox. You can name it. They're all different like paradigms, and each of those paradigms is a man-made lens in how to view Jesus and how to view God and heaven, and any number of things. And I think that I've come to a place where I don't necessarily. I don't think that any one paradigm, and that again, just being like any one like group of humans, has all the right answers and has God in a box. I think he obviously has said over and over that he cannot be put in a box.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when you try to anchor your kids early on um, with those elements of the paradigm that you happen to be in, then you set them up for really for difficult times in the future. So doubts are something I've always struggled with. I have questions all the time, and so I think I try to go to the kids with that spirit of just like you know, open-handed faith that isn't pigeonholed and
Mm-hmm.
that that is anchored in truth, but also also with the truth that God can't be contained, and that he is so much further beyond what we can understand on planet Earth, beyond distance and time and human thought and capacity, and the wonder of God. I think I try to always let the kids remind the kids of, because it's throughout human history. That's Humans are always trying to just say, oh, we've got God figured out and he's in a box, and this is the truth, and this is how it should be, and this is how you should order your life. But I think if everybody's honest, like, you go through your life, that's always evolving. What you thought was absolutely true about God and Christianity 10 years ago, your thoughts have probably evolved on that quite a bit. And so I think a healthy faith is one that builds in that, um, again, that component of growth in your faith. And so I think that's what I focus on, is building into everything we teach the kids about God and Jesus, an element that they'll never have it all figured out, that there's going to be constant growth in their faith, and it'll be worked out with fear and trembling. And and that it's okay to question, and that you've always said that
Yeah.
God can handle
Yeah.
your questions, and
Yeah.
he can handle your doubts, and
And something we tell the kids often,
yeah.
he can handle that.
And just to not live in fear of that at all,
Yeah.
but to ask questions and to question what you're told. It's okay to do that. It's okay to question what we tell them. We know that they will do that, so I think leaning into that, and just kind of supplementing that exploration of their own hearts, that's important to both of us. But
Yeah, and I think really focusing, you kind of hit on it a little bit, but really focusing on the relationship aspect of Jesus, and how, I mean, because in that early stages, that's what's still kind of developing for them. And less harping on all of the religiosity and all of the things that we should and shouldn't do. And obviously that plays into some of your discipline, but more on the relationship and how he desired. I tell the girls constantly, like, he desires relationship with you. He desires to spend time with you. He's always there. Like, even when mommy and daddy aren't there for you, he's always there. And it's something that it's just this constant conversation. We're always kind of speaking over them. And I think that really helps a kid understand that it's about love. It's about that he loves us. It's not about because I have to, or I need to, or mommy's doing it and daddy's doing it. It's, I have this God in heaven who loves me. And I think that plays a huge role with kids, and really all of us, but especially when you're developing that relationship with the Lord. And I also think, obviously, kids learn through example. And something that, it was actually just the other day, Jonathan, I came down the stairs and tired and groggy in the morning, and he's already been awake for a little bit. And he looks at me and goes, "You gonna go spend your Jesus time?" And that's something that Intentional actually talked a lot about, is just setting that up as something that we just do. We spend time with Jesus. And every morning I will spend time with Jesus. And the kids know, whether they're awake or whether that's before they wake up, like, they know that's my Jesus time in the morning. And it sometimes is loud and crazy, but I'm still in the Word. And that has developed something in the kids that I think they see that, and they're hungry for it, and they thirst for that. And the girls are starting to want to do that themselves. And Jonathan's a little bit little, but even he has a desire for the Word that's probably beyond his years, because they just see that lived out too, because they obviously follow your example even more than what you say.
Yeah. And then as they grow, I mean, I think, yeah, it'll just be continuing to model it out, what it looks like in both the good times and the bad times.
Yeah, absolutely.
What it looks like to go through grief, what it looks like to go through, challenges, and what we do in that way. Letting them in on the process, which I'm not as good at. I don't show them as much, because most of my spiritual processing, if you will, is alone and in solitude. So that's something I'll probably need to work on more. And as I take the kids on, more trips as they get older.
Well, and that's something we could hit on. I feel like you take the kids on special dates.
I do, yeah.
And just showing that father figure who's really present and really wanting to hear and really wanting to delve into their lives, I think, is a huge example of the Lord for them as well.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, and just, trying to help them build the right habits for each one of their personality types,
Yeah.
and trying to unfold who they are as a person, and then match that with the elements of God that they will resonate the most with. So, Brooklyn being more emotion driven, she responds so much more to the love of God. Gracie being more idealistic, she, it's the tenets of God, holiness and rightness and righteousness and just how things should be. She resonates with that. Jonathan, we're still figuring out, but you know, helping them to tie those elements of themselves to their relationship with God, but then also trying to help them with those elements of God that they struggle with, or like why are there bad things? Why do people hurt? Why? And trying to look at it from both ways and equip them with the ability to think and process and pray and ask the questions for themselves as they grow older. And they don't know how to ask those things. So like you're saying, modeling those things is probably the best thing that we can do.
Yeah, and we also just like practically every night, again, this is something I think we learned from Intentional, but every night we do Bible, pretty much every night, probably more consistently than not, but we do Bible time, and I've actually even started doing where we do listening prayer together. And I started that actually when Gracie was pretty little. And it's actually pretty incredible. I think oftentimes as adults, we think that kids can't really go there or go that deep with the Lord, but it's surprising how deep they really can go. And it's surprising what they hear. And sometimes it's silly, of course, and whatever else. One time I think Jonathan said he was hungry, his tummy was rumbling, and that's what he heard. But even that, like, I think just letting them develop and practice those spiritual language, that spiritual relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else would you say?
I mean, I don't know. I think that I just think that it's really, I think it just comes down to just showing them how to live life, and then having their faith be woven into all of the elements of their life, instead of coming up with, again, like whatever system of, call it religion, that you're practicing and all that stuff. And it's kind of a vague explanation, but still I think that's it. It's how do you weave in their relationship with God throughout their daily life, and so that it's not, so that it feels close to them and part of them, instead of something that they do, or works that they need to accomplish, or a system that they wear. It is instead, it's woven into the fabric of their day and of their life. And I think that's something I think that we try to model out for them and just show them.
And by no means are we saying we've done it all perfect or right. And I think that's actually a huge component too, is being willing to say sorry to your kids and being willing to admit your weaknesses and your flaws and things that you don't do good. I think one of the most profound things that happened in our 5-minute time with Gracie is I was telling her that I struggle with perfectionism, and it's something that I really have to fight, and people pleasing. And I said that's something that even she may struggle with because I do, and that she's going to have to learn to cut off as a lie, and it's not right. Even though mommy is showing that, it's still mommy's not perfect and it's not right. And I think I just watched her, that vulnerability and humility I was offering, then she came back with that and was able to express what she struggles with. And we just had this really beautiful conversation about it. But I think being willing to admit, this is what we struggle with. We're not perfect at this. We're not good at this. Mommy struggles with that. Daddy struggles with this. I think really makes you humanized. And so I think puts you in a position where you're not trying to lord things over them. You're just trying to lead them.
Yeah. I think that pretty much sums it up. What my answer would be for that.
Yeah. So is that pretty much it? If you could distill it down in 3 things, so we could say 3 things. What did we
boy.
say? Just a recap.
I think leading by example,
Mm-hmm.
and then showing them how you process your own faith.
Mm-hmm.
I think also, like we said, showing them that God loves them above all of the other things that come with, what church you happen to go to at the moment, and that kind of a thing. And then building in a faith that can grow with them, and that isn't stuck, but giving them the tools to grow with their faith, as for their faith to grow with them, maybe as they get older and as they evolve as people. So
It was well done. It was 4, but it was well done. Well, thank you guys. We'll see you next time on Awaken Live. Bye.